Hello guys, welcome back. I have made mischief. You know I have. You're like, okay, what happened? What happened? I knew somebody was insulting me lately, and I just agreed with them very politely and acted like I was very flattered. And because I knew they had a problem about Marvel Loki being on the channel and Tom Hiddleston, and I'm like, yeah. Time to have some fun. Time to have some fun. So, I had fun with that. I love Tom Hiddleston personally as a human being. He is so awesome. He's such a gentleman. People love him, and he's a freaking humanitarian. If he gets one person to go out and do something for other human beings, he's brilliant. I have no problems with him personally. I have no problem with anyone who's ever portrayed Loki. Loki is the easy default for a bad guy. Even as Lokeans, we can't explain everything he did in the stories handed down to us. And, we have to remember, as sacred and serious as we act like our stories are now, Loki himself didn't come down and write those stories, or he would look a lot better. And we have no idea of what tone these stories were told in. Some will say, oh, this story's clearly a comedy, and other people shoot back, that's disrespectful of the gods. The story where he breaks into the banquet and he's like, you did this, and you did this, and you did this. Loki asked me one time, he said, what if we were all laughing? What if we were all just drunk and laughing, and, they couldn't handle it when they were writing the stories down? So they fixed it a little bit. We have to remember, our stories were not saved by pagans as a sacred story. They were saved because they would teach rhyme and meter to young poets and such. So, that's the only reason they were saved. If they would have had secular stuff, or better yet, stuff for the Lord, they would have used that instead. They knew the stories were entertaining, and by then they were probably thought of as folklore. They probably weren't taken seriously anymore. So, we have to look at it in that light. We can't be pedantic and beating each other to death with a bunch of stories and discount the fact that other people legitimately find the gods in strangest way. People have found gods through video games, through comic books, through movies. I don't have any problem if somebody found Loki through Tom Hiddleston. Most people are smart enough to know which is which. And Loki has a fine sense of humor. If he feels like showing up as Tom Hiddleston Loki, he's gonna do it. I guarantee you he's gonna do it, especially if he knows it pisses you off. He will do it. When I see people fighting about his hair color, I'm like, seriously? This is the most important issue? As Lokeans, we have to fight about his hair color? Seriously? We can't fight about anything, like, halfway important, like, maybe people shouldn't have the Nazi flag in the room when they're talking about Loki? We can't talk about stuff like that. We gotta argue hair color. Okay, yay. Yeah, it's like, I don't care. He can have a green mohawk, he can have black hair, he can have no hair. He can look like American Gods Loki, he can look like Floki, he could look like whatever he wanted. He's a shapeshifter. If you think he's bad, oh my god, don't ever work with Hermes. Hermes is worse. And they're my two little evil bookends at the moment. And both of them are very genuinely flattered and happy that they're in pop culture at the moment, because it gets them attention. You have to remember, you have to have big enough mind to realize that a lot of people were not taught our stories because they're seen as evil, or our gods are seen as evil. You have to remember, we live in a culture where even here on YouTube, on Valentine's Day, there was this picture, this thumbnail of Pan, and I'm like, oh my god, that's one of my favorite Pan statuaries. It was about how evil he was and to turn to Jesus Christ. And I'm like, seriously? That is what you did with a statue of my god? Thank you so much. Sarcasm. So we have to remember that if the gods can reach people, through pulp culture or through card games, because there was a wonderful thing by the Reverend Dawn about somebody was playing a card game, and that's how they found the gods. And they asked, could they give these to the gods as offering? And he said, yes, of course. And I agree with him. If you found Loki through Smite, or you found him through a card game or a video game, or Saturday morning cartoons when they used to be awesome, or the comic books, because, you know, way back in my day when we were teeny tiny, the comic books were pretty much different storyline. And whatever way you found them, that's fine. Not everybody can read the stories, and remember, they're just stories. They're a teaching tool. Not anyone can read those stories and find the gods. Some people find them through personal gnosis. There's an Odin's woman who found Odin through American Gods. She saw that face of Odin and fell in love with Odin. It was a representation of our gods, the same way our stories are a representation of our god. It's a picture, but a picture is not the god. And we kind of have to remember that. Especially with somebody as wonderful as Loki, as naughty. He used to tell me he was twins, and now I know why, because Hermes has been fully active, so it's like, I have them both now. They like imitating each other. They are having great fun. They are both sarcastic. So, you know, it's been awesome. And you guys know me. The more Marvel Loki bothers people, the more I will think about making an effort to get the actual Tom Hiddleston on the channel. I wish I could. I wish I knew him and I could call him up on the phone and be like, Tom? Eh? Will you come be on the channel? Eh? It's for a good cause, trust me. But yeah, and you guys have seen, like, I give him stuff like, where's the fidget spinner? Here it is. Fidget spinner! Foxy fidget spinner. And it, I believe it talks about a wise poet who was wise like a fox. I believe that's what it says, if the translation I was given was correct. But yes. So, you know, Loki's very much a pulp culture god. He loves his fast food. He loves pulp culture movies. In my experience, the only time I've seen him get upset is if he thinks another god isn't getting treated fairly. If he loves the Thor movies, he does, but he doesn't love that Thor is about as smart as a golden retriever. Let's admit it. We all love Thor in those movies, and we all love Chris Hemsworth and everyone else, but he's about smart as a Labrador in those movies. He's loving, he's sweet, and he's loyal, but you know, you're not gonna put him in a position of absolute power. Why their father would want him to be a leader when he's clearly not leadership material is, you know, one of the paradigms we have in our culture. People will just be blindly loyal to someone and not see their flaws. You have to be able to see their flaws as well. And we have to see our flaws in how we serve. I know I'm way too lax with Loki. I am. Not that you can punish and yell at your gods, but I let him have his way all the time. If he doesn't want another god in, I don't contest it. Even when that god, you know, would be there to teach me a lesson. Because that's why they show up, to teach you. And if he pouts and he sulks because this other god came in, I will cater to him. And all the others have said, you know, you spoil him way too much. I'm like, I know. But I spoil them all way too much. If they pout or they sulk or they, you know, it's like, that's just my nature, but that's my flaw. I shouldn't be quite that soft and quite that indulgent. But it's like, from my past, I remember things, so I understand how they feel, so I'll be more generous, and if they feel like they're going to be left out or pushed aside or whatever, I'll take care of them. Loki is, you know, I love him very much, but he is a greedy god, and he's a clever god. Whatever way you give him to come in, he and Odin especially, they'll come in that way. So if you give them Marvel way to come in, they'll come in that way. If you give them Smite way or a card game way or comic book way, they'll come in that way. If you only give them a very pedantic, very narrow, very astringent way to come in, They'll come in that way. They'll work with you. They'll meet you halfway. So, if you are feeling hostile towards every other Lokean, especially those of us that, like the movies and have no problem with them, then maybe you have to just lighten up a little bit and say, well, I don't like it. It's not for me. I'm going to leave it alone. I don't, actively go on people's channels and say you shouldn't say that or something. I completely leave the community alone. I mean, unless you come on my channel and you talk to me personally, I completely leave the community alone. I'm like, they got their stuff. They know what they're doing, hopefully. But I figured I would put that out there. Because, people are just getting way too intolerant and way too hateful. And I've never had the gods say they don't like anything I have for them. I have like a little plushy Thor. And I have a Thor, you've seen the Thor doll. And I have some stuff for Loki, for Marvel Loki around. They both enjoy it. They both enjoy it and they get a kick out of it. If they didn't like it or they changed their mind, they would let me know. So I hope you guys like what you see, because I've seen too many Lokeans be shoved out that would have been otherwise fine Lokeans because they love Marvel Loki or they love Smite Loki or something else and they didn't have the support there. It's sometimes harder for them to keep working with Loki after the initial excitement has worn down. But, that's their path to travel. That's not my path. Maybe Loki was only meant to be in their life as a teacher for a brief period of time. Not everybody, gets signed on for lifetime trip. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. Tomorrow is going to hopefully be in the 70s, like they're saying. Hopefully it'll be dry and I can get out to the park and we can hopefully film something beautiful. And make plans, make Loki laugh. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.